Good afternoon, everyone. This is Ornella. I am 22. I am a soon-to-be licensed natural hairstylist. Yeah.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. And first, I want to say welcome to Barbershop Convo Series. We appreciate y'all being here. We have some wonderful folks here who we'll get to meet in just a little bit. But I want to say my name is Prince Barber. I have been cutting hair for 11 years now, and I am a mobile barber. So I'm not stationed in a shop. I travel. I provide a concierge service. My business is Crown Grooming, and I'm actually branding myself. So it's pretty fun to, feel like a kid again, redesigning this thing from the ground up. I also work for the Office of Diversity, Inclusion, and Inclusion Management, helping people that look like you and me get jobs in state government. So I do that for the Hudson Valley, and I'm stationed out of Poughkeepsie. So if y'all know anybody up there that needs a job, holla at me. Prince the Barber 1 on Instagram. Please feel free to get in touch. But that's what I do, and that's what I'm all about. So I'm excited to have this conversation with you all today. So thank y'all for having me.
Panelists, if y'all can just introduce yourselves, a brief introduction.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sabrina. I'm a financial planner / educator / health advocate. I have over 20 years experience working in the social service industry as well as the healthcare industry. I recently got my license in financial planning life insurance over a year ago. And the reason why, per se, was because I felt like there was a need or a gap in my financial literacy awareness, what it was, how it impacted me, how it impacted the society and community that I'm part of. And so that propelled me to go and seek knowledge. And so therefore, for the past year, this is something that I've been passionate about, and I've been part of workshops and platforms just spreading financial literacy education.
Awesome. Well, hello everyone. My name is Keisha Christie. I'm also in the finance world. I'm a financial wellness coach. And I, like Sabrina, have the passion of helping others. So I see myself, helping others to level up, leaving legacies, and that's through life insurance. So we share common goals and values in seeing that families stay together, build legacies, and also build a community, right? We also have to make sure that we educate our community. So, like Sabrina said, educating the community, staying on top of us, especially our community, is so it's vulnerable already. So we got to get the knowledge, which I've been licensed for over 5 years. And I've partnered with an amazing company that has really the blueprint that has to show everyone how to save for an emergency, having life insurance outside of your job, because if you're no longer with your job, then you won't have that. So also sustaining that we can be millionaires, right? We always think we can't, but we have to make sure that we get the knowledge. So that's what I teach every single day. Thank you so much for having me.
So Dr. Terrence, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay, so if you can just introduce yourself, that would be amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Welcome, everybody. Dr. Terrence Duncan. I'm from St. Louis. So it's a pleasure to have the opportunity to be able to connect with y'all on the East Coast. I'm an assistant professor at the School of Business at Liberty University. I teach graduate and doctoral level courses at not only at Liberty University, but other universities as well. A research methodologist, a subject matter expert on healthcare economics, as well as a certified project manager. In a couple of weeks, I'll be launching a business loan brokerage to be able to help connect businesses to get financing and capital to be able to work on a variety of different projects, including real estate, construction, cannabis, as far as like the warehouse and the assets, Three-time published author, wrote a book on personal development, leadership, and also a book on Black social economic issues. Published different academic journals and has presented across the country as a keynote speaker and as a resource educator and a trainer. So thank you again for being able to have me on board with y'all on this Saturday.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
All right, so all the panelists will have 10 minutes to introduce themselves. So we thank you for that time that y'all took to talk to us a little bit, and we get to know you. So some questions that I should be asking before I make purchase, big or small. What's some financial advice that you can give us today? Terrence, please.
I didn't hear you. What you say, brother?
Dr. What is financial advice that you can give us on questions that I should ask myself I make a purchase?
I think the biggest thing that you have to look at it from a behavioral standpoint. There's a thing that we teach in class that I really want to get out to the community, especially Black and Brown communities, about behavioral economics. And what that means is like, what kind of behavior, what is the mentality prior to making a purchase? Is this purchase really necessary? You know, can you have delayed gratification? Oftentimes, you know, we know that we are the largest, we have the highest spending power of all ethnic groups. That's not really nothing to be really proud of, because we should be reinvesting back into your communities. We should make that Black dollar circulate in the community much longer. So when we're looking at buying a particular purchase, what is the purpose of that particular purchase? What is the value of being able to make that purchase? Can they hear me? I'm hearing background. Okay. And then also just like, what's the reason for it, right? I mean, you know, sometimes if we're in our feelings or something like that. I can't hear you. Okay, this is the background noise. So, so like, you know, are we, you know, if you're in your feelings and you're buying something, you know, is that really a good value buy, right? So, you know, we want to look at what is the value for that particular purchase, and then, you know, just seeing how does it really fit to your overall budget. You know, so as we are looking at, you know, our financial literacy, we want to look at it from a foundational sense by understanding what are we doing psychologically, what is our mentality. Why are we buying this particular product? Why are we investing in this particular service? Why are we doing this particular vacation? If it's emotionally based, then I would say don't do it. I think that you should remove your emotions when you're making a business decision. You don't necessarily have to be a business owner to make a business decision. You could be business minded at all times, even with your personal household and with your expenditures. So that will be some of the advice that I would get, just really just changing the mentality as to why. You know, can you pause for a couple of seconds to say, is this really worth, you know, particularly making this purchase or making this particular investment?
So this next question is for you, Sabrina. So what do you feel like I should consider when I'm being targeted for a sale?
So, well, the first thing I would say is think about who is targeting you. What is their agenda or messaging, right? Is the product, whatever they can sell you or they're targeting you for, is it in alignment with, you know, your value, your needs, your wants? Like, you should be able to differentiate it. So it doesn't serve a purpose, because if it doesn't serve a purpose, and ask yourself too, like, why certain things that they advertise, like why do they advertise it to a particular community or particular demographic? So if you're not asking yourself these questions, then you know you're inclined to be part of whatever it is, whatever their agenda is. You're inclined to be part of that. So it's anytime that you're purchasing, you should be asking yourself, like, is this a need, a want, a desire? If you're not having those conversations, then that means you're doing impulse buying. So you become kind of like victim or prey to whatever it is they're selling you. So I don't know if anybody else has anything.
That's perfectly spot on. Very spot on.
I love how that teaches you your value system as well. What's important, what's not. Keisha, this next question is for you. In today's society, influencers are everywhere.
Yes.
And what's most important to influencers are followers.
Right.
So, how can someone tell that they're being targeted by an influencer?
Oh, sure. The other day, I was targeted because I saw a young lady slip into my DMs. I didn't know her. She said, "Hey, I love this picture," and she mentioned where I was. And she said, "I'm visiting with my friends in New York." I said, "Oh, it was XYZ. This was like, whatever, tapas place." And the next day, she pitched me. So that was a direct message targeting. How you will know is they'll reach out to you. Sometimes it's spam. Sometimes it's, a legit business. But as Sabrina said, impulsive buying will happen. But you have to check yourself. Your wants are and your value. Influence are everywhere. That seems to be the right? Everybody quits. I saw a lawyer quit her job to become an influencer. And I'm like, okay, law degree, that's a lot of money. So I'm like, okay, fine. You have to do what you have to do when you're an adult. But then, are you influencing with the right products? Are you partnering with, because some people are going to say, oh, Poland Springs is the best, and they'll shove it in your face, but is it really truly the best? Right? So either direct messaging, or you'll see it on your For You page because you like something. But most importantly, you have to know yourself. You need this. You want this, unnecessary. Sometimes you have that block button for a reason, and I use it every day because they are aggressive. They really are very persistent because they need a sale. They would like for you to be in, whatever they're into. I mean, that's marketing now. Right? Marketing is no longer ads on the TV. It's direct messaging or an influencer standing up there, with whatever. You want to lose weight, you see somebody, oh, this pill. Yeah, sure it works. Sometimes it doesn't. You're welcome.
So these next questions are going to be open to everybody. So anyone wants to answer, you all can. So what question should I ask myself when I start getting emotional about a purchase?
It goes back to asking yourself whether, again, categorize it, is it a need or a want? And what are the emotions? Like, what's behind the emotions? I always think, somewhere, psychology is always something that you bring into play, right? Because you have to understand that you said about marketing. There's a gamut of people out there who are trained to go based on your emotional needs. They study you. And it's unfortunate that we as consumers, we don't study ourselves enough to know what our trigger points are, but they're able to, based on how you scroll through the algorithm, right? Based on how you're scrolling, based on what you're subscribing to, they're studying every bit, even down to you going inside of a mall and going into a store, taking a survey. They're trained and groomed to do it. So if you're not constantly checking within yourself to ask yourself, what is this drive? Why do I need this? Because people will make impulsive decisions and go into a dealership, and because, it's a nice shiny red new car, right? You're gonna purchase it and not ask yourself, the basic questions: can I afford it? Can I afford the monthly payment? Can I afford the insurance? Can I afford if the car were to break down? Can I afford gas? Depending on the model of the car, right? Gas is expensive, and you're not thinking of that because you're acting on impulse. So at some point, you have to slow yourself down and really question: what is a need? What is a want? And delayed gratification. Because I always think, you can't take 24 hours to think about something, then something's wrong.
Yep. Right? Yeah, I agree. I was going to say, people like this instant, it's like ramen noodles. They put it in the microwave. Hey, I got it out. I have a somewhat kind of a meal. But then, do you step away from, whatever it is in front of you and the decision that I'm making in order to make this purchase? I've done it in the past. When you're young, you're excited, you got a little check, you got a little money in your pocket, you make a big purchase, and you're like, okay, am I going to eat next week? Or maybe I go to mom's. Like, you know, true story. People have to learn how money works for us to make those decisions so much less. Now, if you have it and you can toss it away, fine. But if if you're working paycheck to paycheck, maybe you should really consider the need and not just the want.
Yeah, I want to add to what she was saying because all her points are very valid, and it kind of really extends for what I was saying earlier about the behavioral economics. Very first thing you have to do is identify what triggers your spending, right? And I think the young lady can agree with me on that one. What triggers your spending? You know, what habit is the trigger for you to do X, Y, Z? We know what our triggers are to get happy. We know what our triggers are to be mad. Same thing should apply to our spending. If we know what our triggers are, maybe even capturing stuff. We have access to all different tools of technology. It doesn't have to be overly complicated, but how much money have you spent based on your emotions, right? I think if you kind of see that, you have a chance to really. One thing that I do when I talk about financial literacy at home is about being able to look at yourself in the mirror, having that true, honest conversation with yourself. And so when you're seeing that you're spending, you're tired, so you want to go get something to eat, $7, $10, $20, that adds up over a course of a month. That's an ability to be able to pay off a bill a little bit faster. They may be able to save off to pay cash for a trip or whatever the case may be. Understanding what those triggers are, identifying and tracking how your spending is. It doesn't matter the level of education, doesn't matter if you have a lot of money or little money. And I speak this from experience because I used to be horrible with money, but I had to be able to track my spending and then identify subconscious or make it to be a subconscious decision not to buy, like you said, something immediately. Doing a comparative analysis. Again, it doesn't have to be overly complicated. If you have a property, if you have a home, and somebody's trying to give you a quote on the roof, get 2 quotes. They're trying, their incentive is to make sure that they spend your money as fast as possible. So if you get an estimate for a roof, you might wind up saving yourself to $2,000-$3,000. That feels good when you do that. Channel that energy and use that for other things that you do, how you spend your money. You don't have to take it to the first shop around the corner. Going down the street may save you a little bit more money. I bought a car from another state, flew out there for $200, got me a car, drove it back 7 hours. It saved me $6,000 up front, plus another $1,500 in taxes. It was a good investment. So sometimes it doesn't have to be overly complicated, like buying something like big ticket items. Start off with something small, just like she was talking about. Understand your habits, make those particular adjustments as quickly as you can, so that way you can figure out ways to save money. And then all of a sudden it bonds to becoming second nature to you. You don't think about it as much. It becomes intuitive. I'm not going to fly from New York to Atlanta on Southwest, but I can go for American because I know I could save me several $100s, even if I had to pay the baggage fees.
That's good wisdom. And
Respect.
now, as far as trigger spending, y'all know what trigger my spending? I love a good 2 for $5 cents.
Man, you tell me.
Situation.
I definitely fall on the budget.
Yeah, listen, give me a 3 for $10 situation. I'm going home happy.
Yeah.
But I love, Dr. Terrence, how you gave the example of going out of state to go get what you want. Because you could have got that right around the corner from where you at. I'm sure there's somewhere, but you made that choice. So as we look at comparison shopping, what are some of the better comparison shopping?
Saving money. That's the biggest bit.
Absolutely.
You have to learn how to save, especially now more than ever, right? You see, I bought a small plate of Caribbean food from Jamaica, oxtail. Everybody like their oxtail, right? They're the most, it's like lobster now. It was $20. I was like, what? I was like, are you serious? So I'm like, no, I need to go to the other restaurant where I know I'll get it for maybe 15. So that's that choice you have to make, right? I'm like, $20 for oxtail, you getting mostly bones? No, I love my favorite. But I'm like, no, we have to make better decisions for our pockets. And that's why I say I ball on the budget, right? I go straight to the clearance rack when I'm shopping, right? Because I want to see what's on sale. What is there that I can pick up that I need that's at a better price, right? I don't care if it's in season, out of season. I'm not here to show ball on anybody. No, that's what we have to realize, right? So making the decision is so much more important now, as I mentioned before, because inflation is hitting us left, right, and center, right? We can cry about it, but then what do we do next? Do we make the same spending habits that we did before, or do we do better? Or do we learn? That's the key word. Are we educating ourselves either? You know, to make better decisions, right? I definitely agree with Dr. Terrence. Go where there's a better deal. You have a choice to go left or right. Go where there's a better deal. What do you say, Sabrina?
And I feel like oftentimes they market it so that you feel like you don't have a choice.
Yes.
And that's part of being an educated consumer, knowing that you do have the option. Like if you do have to go 1 state away, 2 state away to purchase what it is that you desire. And just doing the homework. People are scared to do the homework. You know, interest rates. There are different institutions that offer different interest rates. So you can learn to shop. So that based on credit, if you understand how credit works, I mean, we go deeper, we delve deeper into the topic. So I'm going to try to stay as surface level as possible. But just being informed and educated to the point of that you have options. Like we have to stop living in a world where we think that it's whatever they're serving you at the table, that's what you need to eat.
Right.
I mean, I'll say, like, hey, if you know that there's a way that you can save, why not go there? But if you don't know, then that's where we're in a lot of trouble, is the fact that people don't know. But thank God for these types of venues and workshops that, the community now, we can bring awareness, because I was victim to it. There's a lot of things that I didn't know. I mean, coming out of high school, people just assume that, okay, you're gonna go to college and you're gonna come out with a 4-year degree, and then you know the world. You don't know the world. There's still things that you need to learn. I remember going my freshman year, stepping on a campus. I didn't know anything about credit cards. But guess what? They were offering movie tickets for free, and I'm a college student. So I was like, for free? I don't have to pay for it? So all I had to do was sign my name, right? But didn't understand what I was signing my name. 18% interest rate, right? As a college student who's not to say not before, but work study. How much was work study back then? If I'm going to date myself, I remember like $5. No, I didn't think about like $5.50, 20 hours a week. What does that accumulate to? Like when you think about this, like that's one thing too, is time. You're never going to get time back. So if you don't educate yourself, you lose a lot of time for no reason. So slow down and do the comparison shopping, because someone next door might have like a better deal. They always
The other thing too, I'm sorry, I just want to add this too, stuff, because the other thing to keep in mind is that it doesn't matter how much more money that you make. If you don't change your spending behavior, you're going to spend the same outflows. It doesn't matter. Look, I had to make a lot of changes in my spending behavior. I don't pay top dollar for anything, but I had to make sure that I don't spend as much money as I'm bringing in. And if you look at it, there's this one book, it's an old book called The Millionaire Next Door. That was the first book that got me hip about money. And they talked about, believe it or not, people like myself, they have a doctorate, medical doctors, lawyers, they're actually worse money spending wise from people from the hood. You know why? Because they brought in more money and they feel like they have to spend more, and they always feel like that they can get more money. So what happens? They want to live in check to check, right? So they're buying these $5,000 suits. They can't afford it. They're charging it up. Next, they're bringing in $200,000-$300,000 a year, and then they're spending out almost $400,000 a year, and they're right back to the same situation as somebody who's bringing in 60 a year and spending 80 a year. So you have to, you have to really just change your mentality, because if you feel like that you bringing in more money is going to change the situation, 9 times out of 10 it's not. You have to be able to make that spending adjustment, and like I said, make that comparison shop, right? If you're in a situation where I want to get another car, I already know the car I want, but I'd rather wait for interest rates to go down instead of being emotional. I think I'm gonna look fly in that car. I can't wait to get it, but I'm gonna wait until the interest rates go down. I'm gonna wait for the price of the car to go down, because I understand from a behavioral standpoint how much that decision is going to affect me, regardless if I can afford the note, but just how much money would I save over the course of a 3 or 5 year note, You see what I'm saying? Or even the same thing with a mortgage. Why get a house right now if you can wait for another year? You know, unless it's really to the point where you have to get a place, you know, just sometimes writing it out might be the better deal because of what you're going to pay in the interest rate. So, I mean, there's a lot of ways that you know, that you have to understand that those people on the other side that talking to you, they're incentivized to take your money. There's no other way to sit there and say it. At the end of this thing, if they ask me, hey, Dr. Duncan, what are you promoting? I'm telling you something. I want you to buy something from me. Whether you do it or not is up to you. But you have to understand that when you go to the mall, same thing. They want you to sign up for the credit card. They're incentivized to find ways to take your money. So you have to be a little bit sharper than that.
Thank you so much. So if I'm motivated to make a purchase, does value, return on my investment, resale value, and or environmental impact matter? I'm going to make a purchase. Do all of those factors matter?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even if you think in terms of purchasing a big purchase, like, I mean, if you were to sell it, you want to know that you're going to make money. Go buy something that, like, for example, a car, you have a brand new car, the minute you drive it off the lot, it loses its resale value. You can't sell it. You purchase it for $20,000. 2 months later, you can't sell it for $22,000, $23,000 because it depreciates. The value of the car goes down. So when you compare that, right, you could have bought that house for, I don't know, I'm not going to give New York prices, but let's say you purchased the house for like $150,000, right? And in the matter of a year, depending on how the market is going, or 5 years, that house is going to appreciate. It's an asset that's appreciating, which means that your money is growing. It's producing assets for you. So definitely, if you're going to purchase something, you have to look at what is my return on investment? Am I going to get back that $150 that I put in maybe 10 years down the line? If you're willing to wait 10 years, 10 or 15 years down the line, and double that money to $300,000, that's a wise investment. And you're getting a return on your investment, as opposed to a car that you're buying brand new and you're not so much, you know. And for me, I made that mistake thinking, oh, you know, straight out of college, I'm gonna get a brand new car, and I drive the car out of the lot, and like whatever money that I thought that, you know, I put in, especially like maybe I put in more than what I was supposed to because I wasn't aware, I wasn't educated enough. So they got off on me. Like, you know, I walked in and they're like, yeah, she's a bingo. And they got me because I did not do my homework. And I'm driving something that's depreciating. Like, the asset on it is not there. So.
I definitely hear you. You were definitely targeted then at 18. But I'm glad you know now, you know, how money works. And basically for me, for myself, it was a Louis Vuitton. And I was congratulating myself on an achievement I had. And I'm telling you, I saw that purse so quick in the stock market, honey. Because I'm like, there is no way. Did I get my ROI? No, I actually got half of that money back. It was in, I would say 2 years I sold it back. I bought it for 16, I got half back. Selling it on Poshmark. I'm like, you know what? Fine. But you see what, you know, making these purchases do. I don't have a Louis Vuitton anymore. I don't care about those things because I'm like, can I eat? You know what I mean? Then tomorrow. So for me, I'm more conscious of the purchases that I make now because not all of them will give you the ROI, obviously not. But then, you know, like the house you're saying, like I'm looking at Cleveland, going out of state because New York is crazy with those prices. Once you fix that bathroom and kitchen up, you'll see how quickly the price appreciates, like really jumps, you know? So people have, I mean, like I have a son-in-law that he says, you know, I'm not going to buy a dryer because it doesn't, fabric softener is not good for the I'm like, whoa, that's all that. He's like, let me use, you've got a yard, you don't have cold weather all the time, you're good, use the sun, and then of course you save money on electric. And also, you know what I mean? So, you know, yes, we have to make conscious decisions. Like, what will it do for the next 5, 10 years? You know, or am I going to get some money back or none? You know, will I take care of this item enough so I can if I need to resell it? So that's another thing, right? Will I get some money back if I take care of this item? Now, that bag, as beautiful as it was, I took care of it because I realized and I understood. I worked hard for the money to buy it, number one. But then I said, you know what? I'd rather use that money and throw it into something else and make money off of it. Right? And did I? Yes. Very successful in making some money. And I'm really, excited. Terrence.
I agree with everything that you're saying and stuff. I mean, it's you just gotta. I think it really comes. I think one thing that's been consistent so far to date is understanding what are you getting out of it, right? I think that there's nothing wrong being selfish when it comes to your finances. This is something that you work hard for, and you should be able to make that dollar grow, or they call it appreciate, and you should be able to get the best value for your dollar. So I agree with everything what everybody's saying and stuff. I mean, you just have to really understand how your behavior affects how your money's coming in and how much money you're able to save. Because, you know, as we level up, once you get the saving part, then you get to investing part. So making that trade for that Louis Vuitton and getting 2 times what you invested into it, that's a great deal, right? I mean, you know, where I stay in St. Louis. So the cost of living is you get more bang for your buck, basically. We got grass. I've been in New York one time. You ain't got no grass like that. I got trees and sidewalks and a gang of people, but you ain't got no grass. But for the house that I have right here, though, I can sell this. I can sell this house right now and make 200,000 today off of equity, right? That winds up being a good investment. Buying a house into a neighborhood that maybe is troubled and it doesn't be able to grow as much as a value, you want to lose some money over time. So again, figuring out what's the value. I think that's something that I always try to hammer over and over again, even for my own personal decision. What is the value of my decision making? How's this going to benefit me from a personal perspective, somewhat emotional, but also in the longer game of it all. So like I thought about, we was talking about spending money and stuff. Like I like to eat out. And so yesterday I went to this black owned spot and they was charging $28 for chicken and waffles. That chicken and waffles was probably like a $10 to $12 plate. You know, so like I mean, it was good, it was fire, but I don't want to go there again and stuff because I may pay $28, you know, for something that I can make for like $10, $12 at home. I'm not, you know, that cheap, but you know, but it's like, what's the value, right? So if you want to go out with somebody, you want to spend $60 just to eat. That's not even including the drink. So is that really a good purchase? Well, how could that money be reinvested into something else? You're planning for a trip, or you got to do something for your child for a vacation, or some kind of a school activity, or even school supplies and stuff. Planning. You know, hopefully we get into that conversation. Planning what these moves make, and just having that one little pause before you're able to make that investment.
Can I just say, I mean, you just set me up so nicely with that response. Thank you. Because
no doubt.
One common thread that I keep hearing throughout the speech is how money makes you feel. That it's more than just the physical green, but there's an emotional component. And even as you have to search your value system, you still have to identify what's important. And within that, there's emotion that's connected to it. And when you have it, you feel good. When you don't have it, you want to feel better, right? So through that, and as we look at companies' way to find their ROI, right, their return on the investment, they tap into what? Our emotions, right? So what are some advertising tactics that surprise you that companies use?
Well, for me, I'm just shocked at how young the demographic has become. Like, I have an 11-year-old daughter who is very familiar with the internet. You know, even though I try my best to monitor as best as I can, but you have TikTok, you have Instagram, you have all these influencers out there. I remember last year or the year before, like the big trend for them was this product that was really geared towards adult women, but you know, her age group, 10, 11, 12, even as young as 8 child, right? And you would go into stores need a fight. Because as a grown woman, I'm like, I'm not even spending that type of money on it. But of course, she preyed on her father. And of course, daddy's not going to say no, even though she's not understanding that this is not a product that's appropriate for her. Like, your skin is still young. You still have like baby skin. You shouldn't be putting these products. But a lot of these advertisers, these marketers, they're targeting them young. And, you know, I've gone into stores and you'd be surprised, even the salespeople are like, yeah, 8, 9-year-olds are coming in asking for this product. There was a point in time the product was like out of stock because what age group was purchasing it? And you as the adult with the money, you're allowing your child to participate in this. You know, so at times I'm like, you know, what are we doing? What kind of a society are we building when now they know the prompt for the younger kids? You know, even like certain drinks, certain alcoholic beverages and stuff like that, they're advertising it. These kids, they're putting interesting lingos behind it. It's in music lyrics. So these kids are not even understanding that this is harmful for you, but they want it because they've heard it. You know, if they're singing the thing and they don't even understand what they're singing, but there's something there's triggers happening, right? That all of a sudden now they want more of it, and they're finding ways to get it. So for me, the biggest concern was how young our demographics have become.
I saw a video in a certain makeup store where the mom and the 2 girls were in there, and the girl was buying makeup. Young, like she's in her teens, she's buying makeup, and she's demanded to spend over $800. You know that video? I'm like, are you $800 in a makeup store? $800 in a makeup store. She was not yet. I don't think she was even 15 yet. Was she?
She was like,
She was 10. So it's just surprising to me how aggressive the advertisements are. They're not using older folks. Like you'll be like, oh, that's Bill Cosby, you know, someone that's famous for something. They're using people that are insta famous to really put it in your face. Like, I'm like, who is this? Why are you on here? Every cycle you go through TikTok, it's something that they're selling over and over. I'm like, I'm just trying to see something else, please. It's overwhelming. You know, Instagram has become a bit, you know, like a sponsored app, but not as much as TikTok. And I'm glad my daughter is already grown out of the house. I don't have to deal with, no, you can't get it. Why are you even watching it? How did you even know about this? You know, so I don't have that, but you're right. In the songs, they're throwing them something like, like how do you think some of these alcoholic beverages got so popular? You know, it's in the songs every day in your face. So what we mostly know is how like I'm hungry and there comes on TV something for me to eat. How does that happen?
Oh, perfect time.
It's always perfect. I'm like, how did you know I was hungry? Or I'm talking to you about an item and there it goes scrolling on. I'm like, how is that even possible? Are our phones listening too? I heard they are, but I can't prove it yet. I mean, I know Siri's always listening. And Alexa, right? Yes. But it's just crazy how the world has changed. Where we used to see, you know, more mature or really, you know, famous actors bringing the products, but now everybody. I could throw a product into right now because I got 6,000 followers. But it's just so different to me.
It just goes to show you how marketing has changed.
Very evolved.
Ages, right? Because when we were growing up, remember the billboards, like the train stations, right? The Newport. I don't know if you guys know what that is. The cowboy. Now it's like, so you physically have to go outside your house to see it. But now, instantly, you're scrolling it and it's there. So there's no escaping it. So you just see through the evolution of time. And I guess society has progressed in a way, but you know, and how damaging some of the things are to us. You know, even like the other day, I was like, we were driving and I was listening, and I like my era was the 90s, right? I think that the 90s eras had the best music, right? So I'm driving and I'm listening to a song, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh, I I'm like, turn it off, because my 11-year-old's in the car. But when I was like 17, 16, I didn't hear the words. As an adult now, I'm hearing the words, and I'm like, this is not proper. And she's like, Mommy, what does that mean? I said, never mind. I was not ready to explain what that was yet, because I wasn't comfortable with it yet. You know, like, I'm like embarrassed to say I was not comfortable trying to explain to an 11-year-old how they mix certain drinks for certain purposes. Like, and I heard it in the song, but back in the day, I never heard that. I was just dancing to the beat and not paying attention to the song. So you just see how advertising subliminally put messages into you that goes over your head until you slow down and you pay attention. You know, so yeah, so it's just very interesting the times that we're living in. Very. Dr. Terrence?
Can you hear us?
Do you want to add it?
Can you hear us?
Can you hear us,
Can you
Dr.
hear us?
Terry?
Yeah, it's like a small little delay from time to time and stuff. Restate the question again, because I had two answers, and then so I want to make sure I answer the question directly.
Repeat the question you said?
Yeah.
Can you repeat the big?
Sure. What are advertising tactics that companies use as they market to consumers?
Yeah, so for me, I'm trying to think of the name of the show. It was James Baldwin. Actually, it was like a documentary on Netflix, and they talked about the U.S. Chamber of Commerce when they was talking about how they could appeal to Black people. And first they hated us, they didn't want us to be around, and this and that. Then they realized stuff that we had disposable income, and it was provided by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. And ever since that point, you think about it, you think about the way Sprite is marketed to Black audiences. You look at the ways, if you flip channels, right? You know, if you go from TNT watching basketball playoffs right now, or you go into like HD TV, you see different products that's being marketed. And you have to understand that, again, it goes back to our spending power. And that's why we have to take control of our spending power to start reinvesting our dollars correctly, is that they're going to continue to aggressively market to us. And so in my book, I talked about how even just to something as simple as supermarkets, I challenge you next time to not just look in your neighborhoods, but go into an affluent neighborhood and see the difference of the way that they market their products. You're going to have a lot more foo-foo waters. You're going to have the bougie waters, but you're not going to have all the sugary drinks. You're not going to have, I don't know if y'all sell single squares out there or not, but, like they sell single blacks, single squares, single blunts. It's just anything that's, targeted and marketed to destroy us from a social determinants of health standpoint, or be able to take our money. You look at different gas stations, so different gas stations, they provide different products, just even whether you're on one side of town or the other, or even just like the restaurants and stuff, like look how many fast foods are in certain neighborhoods compared to us and stuff. And so the thing is, somebody might not be able to take advantage of that or take part of that, but just think about how much exploitation is made through aggressive marketing tactics. Going back to social media, there's a whole bunch of research articles that talk about how detrimental of social media is to not only young health, but even minority health. Because of what we see, the images over and over again, you don't see too many images of Black excellence, unless you're consciously trying to reach out for it. You might look at a couple of articles here and there where they might have a real estate seminar out in Bronx, but then next they go back to somebody fighting up in a school. And then you're going to see that over and over and over again. So even the algorithms and stuff, that they're specifically aimed and designed. As a business owner, you can purchase online and certain social media channels your audience. You can target the audience of what you want to say and what you want to promote. Even if it goes away from a purchasing standpoint, you look at what happened with the election with Trump being elected, like how a lot of actors actually went on social media to purchase ads push towards us to influence our decision making, the way that we look at the politics, the way that would affect our voting, to the point that we actually did not vote in 2016. And so, you look at all those different factors and stuff, and can you really point all of them out? Not really. But again, I think that comes down to your value and your purpose. making that conscious decision, because the machine can't beat your value or your purpose. But if you allow yourself to be exploited, you're going to continue to be exploited. And so again, it goes back to, taking the emotions away from it as often as possible. Can you do it all the time? Probably not. But but you'll be amazed how much money you save once you start to developing that resilience towards some of the aggressive marketing tactics and stuff. But for every time that they have consumer protections, they're always going to find ways to wrap around it and continue to exploit. And it's really scary in a lot of ways, because when we were kids growing up, this is what I was going to say earlier. When we were kids growing up, our parents used to be able to watch over everything. Now we have kids, we can't watch over everything no more. They got like buku social media channels, so we can't sit there and monitor every inbox that comes in, and then whatever that they're looking at, all of a sudden those algorithms keep on putting it right there and stuff. So then you look at a lot of the violence that we have in all our communities. It's not just isolated in New York or St. Louis. A lot of it is fueled by what these kids are seeing on a regular basis and stuff too. So we just gotta, and communication is the best way to try to stop that. The more that you all have conversations like this on a regular basis, big props for y'all for doing that, because more conversations have to be like this on a regular basis and stuff, because the more that you're able to talk about the truth, the more you're able to kind of start chipping away at the misinformation and be able to help another family, another household take the next step towards generational wealth, establishing a legacy, and just, climbing the next ladder to Black excellence.
Thank you so much. So, when making a purchase, big or small, would you say that the most expensive option is the best option, or otherwise?
Define expensive.
So,
because what could be expensive to me may not be expensive to you.
so let's say not necessarily expensive as a whole, but let's say something is, you're buying an item for $20 opposed to the same item in a different brand for say $60.
Okay.
So when buying, is the expensive option usually the best quality, or you get more bang for your buck, or do you find that there's scenarios where maybe the cheaper option is the best?
It depends on what the item is, because this shirt costs $5. I bought it in a 2-pack, so it's 2 for $10. So, can I get it at the dollar store? Perhaps, but baby, this is soft. This is quality, So I'd rather have. It depends on the preference of the person. To be honest with you, right? As I said, define expensive, because somebody may want a Toyota Corolla while somebody may want a Lexus, right? So it really depends on, can you afford it, right? Is it just for a right now need, or do you need it for long term? I want to wash this and it doesn't fall apart, so I'd rather buy the quality, right? That 2 for $10 is always up my alley, or something that's on a budget or a discounted price, but it doesn't mean it's not good quality. What do you think?
Well, this is where, being an educated consumer comes into play as well, because again, we live in a world where marketing tactics, they employ, you can buy a product, right? Let's say a lotion, like if you're using facial lotion on your face, and you're thinking because the brand name, because you have like some connection somewhere, because you know the name. Like, I don't want to say
It's a household name.
Right, it's a household name, so you have some kind of connection to it. Your mother used it, your grandmother used it. So if it costs $100 because they used it, right? Your feeling is, I'm going to purchase it because I know people that use it. But a lesser known brand, which most of the time it's the same product, the same amount of money that it costs to make the $100 item is the same amount of money that they use to make the $20 item. But because you gauge, or you have some kind of an attachment or memory to a certain particular brand, you're going to spend that money. Is it wise? It may not be wise unless you, again, learn to educate yourself. Look at the ingredients. Because if the ingredients match, ingredient to ingredient, we would want a portion to the side of saying, well, maybe $20 thing is way better. And then now you're saving, right? You're saving $80 off of a product. So it's, again, going back to understanding the psychology of the emotion, becoming more aware and an educated consumer to see if it makes sense for you. I don't know if Dr. Terrence has anything to add.
I actually agree with that 100%. I think that for me, I will pay for quality, but at the same time, I wouldn't pay more than what I feel comfortable with. And so, like if I stay in a certain hotel or if I travel a certain way, there might be some preferences and stuff, but it just comes down to price. It's just something that I feel comfortable in spending. So if I go to a sporting event, I might want to sit at a certain level, but if it's the cost is prohibitive of it, I'm going to take away my want and just be satisfied saying I was at least able to make it to that sporting event, something of that nature. Same thing even with the car, use an example, there's a Lexus that I would like to buy and I know how much it is, but, waiting for a little bit longer that, it's not really necessarily delayed gratification, but it's just more so of just saying I can wait for this now and be comfortable dealing with whatever I have now. I don't necessarily need to get another car. It's just something I prefer, but because my cars I've had for quite some time, but I don't want, it's just better for me to just pay the small little maintenance, whatever it may be, to save, thousands of dollars on the back end. So I think that really makes a big difference. It's just really understanding, what would you quantify as quality? I pay for my time. There are certain things like I'll Instacart, but I won't DoorDash. Right, because if I can Instacart, I can knock out an hour or two of products. I can grade. I can, connect with different people or whatever the case may be and stuff. So I will pay for that particular type of service. But DoorDash, no, I won't pay for that type of service. I'd rather just fix something myself or go out and pick it up myself because, no disrespect for those out there hustling in that industry and stuff. I don't want to pay that. I don't want to pay a $5 delivery charge plus the tip and everything else, which is basically another entree or appetizer. So there's no value for me on that. So I think that if you look at finances from a foundational sense, once you elevate, you want to look at sunk costs. What is considered as a sunk cost? Is a sunk cost necessarily worth it? And I think that's another level of behavioral economics that you can look at that anybody can do. But it just all starts with the mentality. I'm probably going to say it the rest of the day, but it's just really the mentality, because I'm sharing everything what I have done to elevate myself to be where I'm at right now. And so I have no problem sharing those type of tips and insight, because that's what I did, like everything I've, I think of where I was maybe 20 years ago and stuff. I had like negative $300. Like I was always broke. So I had to make those adjustments, and so hopefully, some of y'all in the audience or even on the panel are able to be able to take that information and share it as necessary.
Yeah. See, and Dr. Terrence, I'm like you. I'm old school. I go to the store.
Oh yeah.
I'm not doing no DoorDash, no disrespect to the folks that do, but to me, I'm spending an extra $15 in the service fees and all of that. So where can I cut that cord? And as we
Absolutely.
Comparison shopping, can you give us some examples of your comparison shopping?
Let's talk about the oxtail. Comparison. What have I compared with?
Yeah, I got some good oxtails and stuff. I'm gonna have to pay top dollar for that. I'm just saying. I'm paying top dollar for an oxtail. I'm sorry.
Even airline, like let's say going on vacation. I'm big with that because I need to know, and I don't know if I'm being frugal or but I need to know the cost of my airline. I'm traveling with a family of 4. So, right, so I need to know the cost of the airline. I need to be able to say, okay, is this airline, even if it's $20 less, because now you're taking into consideration, you have to pay for your luggage now, right? So if that, I have to like factor that cost, and I'm working on a budget. Like I said, family of 4, you have to work on a budget. Also, where are we staying? Like if staying at an Airbnb may be more cost effective for me than staying at, let's say, like a 5-star hotel. Like I prefer when I'm traveling, I want to be able to cook my food, right? So I know like that's supposed to be vacation, but I So but that's another kitchen we gotta comment. So that I looked into that and even like apartments, so I'll figure out like the thrifty, you know, more cost effective than Avis or budget or whatever. So in those terms, in those realms, traveling definitely. Because I want more bang for my buck. You know, so that's why I would do comparison shopping.
Well, I'm gonna leave you to that cooking on your vacation. That would be a no for me. I definitely enjoy when I go away. I have to.
Yeah.
Right? Like I just came back from Jamaica on Wednesday. We did look into the hotels. I said, this is what I need, right? All inclusive. It has to be clean and it has to be, of course, reasonable price. So the place we stayed at, it was gorgeous. I mean, it had everything that I could ever imagine. But I really know the value of money. That's why I do that, you know. Okay, and you know this, when you're going on the airline shopping, go on the private browser versus, you know, the regular browser, because the private browser will help, you know, for them to target where your location is. See, they checking, yes. So that's how I, you know, do my comparison. Then I was looking for something more complex. I said, okay, I'm gonna go online, I'm gonna go on Google, but I'm gonna use my private browser, and then I'm going to also check DSW because I'm a member there. So building relationships also with, you know, companies, when you are actually a, you know, either seasoned traveler with an airline, they're going to give you those perks. So that's something that you may want to consider, you know, those of you who are watching, that when you build relationships, you won't have to compare all the time because they're going to give you the discount here for members. You know, they always want you to sign up for something. Like I have the credit card with Delta and American Express. Whenever I want to book an airline ticket and I want to use miles, I'm going to get a nice little discount off of it, which is amazing. And it's a perk. So I would tell people while you're comparing, also definitely try to build some relationships with either hotels, car rentals, if you have to travel, or even, you know, for shoe shopping, B.A.C.E, they give you a nice little $5, $10 off, you know, but don't get caught up in spending too much to achieve those little minuscule goals. Like I went into TJ Maxx yesterday and they said, would you like to sign up for the credit card? You'll get 10% off. I'm like, 10% off? No, thank you. And then the cashier whispered, that's good. You don't need it. It's not enough to want to sign up. I'm like, I know, you know, it doesn't make sense. But building the relationship does matter to me most importantly than anything else. Dr. Terrence, back to you.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, I'm the same way and stuff because I, you know, there's times and stuff where I might want to cook a little something, right? And then there's sometimes I want to go all inclusive or have something that's everything's like right there and stuff. But you know, another thing to kind of keep in mind is bank accounts. You know, like are your checking and your savings account, is your bank giving you the right deals? You know, if you want to look at the most foundational sense of comparative shopping, look at seeing where you're putting your money at. You know, because a lot of the banks, you know, how the fees. If you're in an area where you got to get hit up with a lot of ATM fees, can you find a bank that doesn't have as many ATM fees? You know, that right there is a saving mechanism. For me, I do comparative shopping, not only on that, but also just for like clothing, you know. So I usually try to, you know, pinpoint when to get good deals and stuff. So like last winter, I had bought some patio furniture on sale from Wayfair because it's the wintertime in St. Louis. It's going to be cold. It's going to be snowing or ice on the ground. So they're going to have deep discounts and I still need to put it together. But I have my patio furniture for maybe save myself several $100s. If I wanted to get a coat, there's times I'll get me a coat right around this time of the year, or even a puffer because they're going to be way discounted instead of waiting until the fall. So, you know, you think about different ways that you could do that. If you have the opportunities, you know, keeping an eye on different insurance carrier rates. That's a good idea to see if you can get a lower insurance, you know, for your vehicle, your health insurance, if it's possible. I don't know how it is out there, but they might have some health exchanges and stuff where it may be beneficial to slide over to a, you know, a different health plan and get, you know, the same quality care for saving money. a broker, I think it was Keisha had said that, just those there's networks and connections. Talking to a broker that can help you navigate those spaces can be a good deal. If you're not comfortable comparative shopping, look at a travel agent. A travel agent can help you find the best deal. So there's so many different ways and stuff. And just to kind of really think about what you had said about, like a TJ Maxx card, think about Target. Target wants to give you a 5% card, give you 5% off purchases, right? But think about it. For 5% off of purchases, guess what they get off of you? All your spending habits. So it goes right back to aggressive marketing. So again, it's good to take advantage of certain things. And yeah, you can't control everything out in the matrix. You can't control everything in the atmosphere, but you can control just enough where you can still maintain financial flexibility and freedom, and still be able to have your quality of life. And I made a comment about DoorDash and whatnot. There's nothing wrong if you like ordering out. You can do so. Just don't do it 15 times in a month. You can still, treat yourself to something to eat. You can still get a cocktail. Get them oxtails. Next time from New York, I'm gonna give me some oxtails. But it's just like you can still do certain things, but it's just the excess part. That's what usually catches people and stuff. Because if you nickel and dime everything, but you still don't change your spending habits, you're going to right back to where you started. So that's something that all of us on the panel want to make sure that you do not do for yourself personally. I'm getting those oxtails too, for real. And them meat pies.
I also feel like hairstylists and like barbers, those are like comparative shopping, because this hairstylist doesn't wash hair.
Right?
This
What is that about?
This
And come with your hair detangled. No this, no that. It's insane to me how the world and the providers are changing the whole scope. I remember going to the beauty salon in the early 2000s, and my hair was washed, my hair was conditioned, my hair was detangled, my hair, everything, right? But now you better do the work yourself and then come to just get whatever you're getting the style.
Or it's an extra fee.
Right? Or if you want, how many braids you want? I'm like, what? I'm like, okay, it's just gotten ridiculous, to be honest. I'd rather going back to those old school days where we had those hair dressers. Because these stylists are, girl, you touch a corner. So this is why I get some braids. I'm like, no.
So how would I negotiate the price of a big or small ticket item? And what is an OBO?
All this stuff, yeah. So for me, I always ask, because closed mouth don't get fed. If you don't ask, you don't get. Hey, can you do better on this price? Now it's either yes or no. I called my credit card company and I said, look, I've been with you how many years? I'm gonna get a little rate. They told me some said yes and some said no. What happened? I won some, but I didn't win it this time. I'm gonna call back, of course. And if I don't get it, I'll just move on by slowly closing that account, which is not always great, but I have to sever relationships, so the sacrifice is needed. So if you don't ask, you don't get. You have to open up your mouth. Hey, you want to get a better haircut, or can you do it for this amount, or whatever it is. It's up to the provider to say yes or no. You can't just assume. A lot of times we assume. I get it in the grocery store. Like if something's a little, not the grocery store, but like in the department store, it's a little blighted. They have a little scratch that you can use an eraser and erase that sucker out. Yeah. You go up there and say, this has a little mark on it. It's not a mark it down. Right? That's just natural for them. And I always ask, can you do better? Right? Or best offer, I guess that's really in a more private sale. Like when you're selling a car to a private person, they say going for $10,500 or best offer. So come with $9,900 and probably say yes. That's really what that means. So what do you say?
Yeah, a lot of people don't. Well, I didn't even know that. But you could actually go into a furniture store and you can, or best, or you can order. Yeah, you can actually. like back in the days, it was like, oh, don't ask so many questions, but like you said, closed mouths don't get fed. You have, as a consumer, as a customer, you have the right to say, well, no, I think this is worth X, Y, and Z, and put that as an offer, and it's up to them whether or not they're gonna accept that offer.
Right. Just start walking away. They're like, come back.
Right. I didn't know. It took me, like, how many years old was I until I figured that I could do that? Or even with clothing, like, I walked into, like, certain department stores, like you said, if there's something that, like, even if it was like a
little nick.
a little thing coming out, and I'm like, wait, but no, it's not. Why should I pay $100 or $200 for this item? And there's like a blemish on it.
Right.
And I, to my surprise, have gone up and they're like, okay, we'll take 30% off.
Yep.
30% off is a big deal.
That's a good deal.
It's a big deal. So, like you said, I like that same.
It doesn't. No, it really doesn't. I've done it several times in many different countries. In this one too, because exactly right. I'm on the beach in Jamaica. The guy says it's $10. You know what I'm talking about? Come on, sir. Don't you hear my talk like you are? Like, you kidding me? $10 US. I'm Jamaican by that. I said, I'm gonna give you this $1,000 Jamaican. Have a good day. I mean, his face was not very pleased, but hello, it's a coconut. You probably picked it up from the line again. Come on. Yeah, you know, because it's a resort, you know, people take advantage. That's why whenever you're selling something, people know, go a little higher because you know somebody's gonna ask for a lower price. So they always say, okay, so this bottle right here, oh yeah, it's gonna be $2. And then that's where you go in and, you know, the person said, oh, I'll give you $1 for it. Okay, here you go. I mean, it's simple, you know, economics.
So let me ask you about that though.
Yeah.
And even you touched on a little bit before about private sale and private and making a fair offer. If you're in a situation and you got to strike a fair deal and you don't want to go too above, too beneath, how do you set the mark on what's fair, regardless of the price point, right? Because you mentioned about furniture, how you can negotiate. Now, you just schooled me to something. So, and down to somebody trying to sell you a coconut for $10. So, big or small situation, how do you set a fair price or a fair offer on the table?
So you gotta understand the value of what you're purchasing, right? So if you I'm not like the smartest person when it comes to cars, but you know the Kelly Blue Book value.
I was gonna say research.
If you do the research, like you have a Corolla, and the Corolla, like let's say the Corolla Blue Book value is saying that the Corolla is $5,000, but I'm going to you and you're trying to sell me the same car for $10,000. Is that fair?
Right.
I do have the right to, you know, you have the right to say or best offer, but I have the right to say, no, I'm not going to go off of what you're saying because based off of my homework, my research, this is what this car is going to be worth based on the mileage, based on the year, you know. So no, I'm not gonna meet you at $10,000.
Right.
But you have the right to like bring the price down to meet me close to where I'm at. Or I can choose to walk away. It's actually trying. I think the hardest part is if you want something and you know it's not right for you, to be able to let go and walk away. That's the hardest part. You have to learn at some point self-control. Because that doesn't make sense for me to purchase something that's worth $5,000 or less, and I want to pay more for it. And then there we go. Like, what's the return on investment? Is bringing those vocabulary back into play.
I was going to touch on it just like real estate, right? It's a private sale. It's between the buyer and seller. And the buyer offers a price, even though it's marked up at $300,000. I go in, I'm like, watch the bathroom is old, like it's pink, and the kitchen has, you know, I'm offer $325, and I'm gonna ask for some closing costs. Right? You know, you have to know how the art of negotiations, right? That is so powerful these days because people are marking up because of inflation. and they're thinking people are going to buy because they don't think they know any better. But as an educated consumer, back to those words, you have everything you need to know is in the palm of your hands. Force us to do so. Gripe about it later. Oh, you paid too much. What? What do you mean? Oh, it's on Google right here, or it's online for this amount. You know,
you have to understand the market. Like, even as a buying real estate, if the house next door is X amount and two houses away is X amount, then have the big middle house ask for an inflated amount. So if you're not doing the full work, then you're going to get bamboozled. So it behooves you, right, to just really be more aware of what's out there. Be an educated consumer. Like, we just need to keep going back. Like, it's your right. It's your right. It's your money. You work for it. Like, I want to know that my money is stretched as far as it possibly can. And I'm not just throwing it out there. Like, you know, if I'm spending the money, I want to know it's coming back to me somehow.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's really interesting stuff when we're talking about comparison and negotiation and things of that nature. So, before I got into teaching, I was working for a healthcare company, and I was actually responsible for doing a lot of legal negotiations. I think the more that you do it, the more comfortable that you will become, because you also have to understand that there's people who know how to negotiate as well. And so, I think that if you kind of take take an emotional element out of it and saying, what is the best deal? And one of the things that I like to talk about when it comes to financial literacy is leverage. Or actually just a lot of stuff that we do is leverage, making sure, even though don't have to be an expert, but at least be knowledgeable. When you're walking in and you're trying to negotiate a purchase for a house, a car, salary, or whatever the case may be, know your information, right? Don't come in. If you want to come in, let's say that you are going in for a position and they could pay you, you're going in at $38 an hour, go ask for 46. I mean, ask for 44, 45, right? You know, you'll break even. What you're comfortable with is 42. But if you ask for 42 right off the bat, they got two choices. Either they're going to take it or they're going to lower how much they're going to pay you. So don't sell yourself short in those negotiation processes. Don't feel like that if you try to negotiate that they're going to walk away from you, because again, what is their incentive to make a sale? And so if you're going in for a car and they say that car is worth 35 and you feel comfortable paying 30, don't go past your comfort zone, right? You know, if they say, well, we can get it for 32 and this is my best offer. If that's your best offer, remember, you have options. As somebody said this earlier in the panel, you have options. Get in your car or Subway or Uber, whatever the case may be, and find your best option. And then, so sometimes your negotiation doesn't necessarily have to be a direct negotiation. You can negotiate yourself about what you're comfortable with as far as like purchasing something. So I think again, I don't think you have to be an expert. Like, you don't have to have a master's, you don't have to have a doctorate, you don't even have to have a bachelor's degree, but just being knowledgeable of whatever that you're trying to get yourself into. So you can have that leverage. So that way people don't exploit you or put yourself in a position to be exploited as if you didn't have that leverage.
So the
They regulate. Oh.
I didn't hear the question. What was the question?
So what is the Federal Trade Commission, aka the FTC?
Oh, what about the FCC? Oh, they're all lies. Not just playing. The FTC, they're going to try to do the best that they can based on whatever resources, whoever's running it. So I think that, again, forums such as this is very powerful. If you think about it, if you go back to the African days, we had our knowledge and insight through the short stories and the experiences that we shared amongst each other. And I think that we can do that as well, too. I'm not saying that the government is not going to help us out, but, what is the government's best interest? That's to generate revenues, right? And so I think that as it relates to the FTC, their priority is going to change based on whoever's the lobbyist. And that's the best way to look at it. And so things that, you know, you think about, again, old school. Y'all remember when Luke came out and Dre and Snoop and Cuba first came out? Nas, you know, they used to have the explicit lyrics, advisory labels, and they remember they were sitting here, homegirl with the hair wrap and stuff. She was sitting here smashing CDs, and they was having steamroller parties and CDs. Now they play explicit lyrics like it's nothing. Remember the first time you heard a cuss word on a TV show? You know, now they have, you know, you can say whatever it is, not only on TV, but also in sports, right? And so really just comes down to the priorities, and it kind of goes back down to marketing. So as far as the FTC, is it for us, against us? I think it's kind of neutral. I just think it comes down to what we share for our experiences, and to use these forums, a powerful forum, because I really appreciate this forum that y'all put together, and be able to continue to share the insider knowledge and stuff, so we can be able to educate ourselves to make the best decisions possible regarding the government, or, you know, just anything that's financially related, or even social determinants of health related.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, they regulate. I was saying they would regulate a lot of stuff regarding, you know, consumers in regards to making sure there's competition, right? Making sure that the advertisement is actually correct and accurate. Because if you just throw something on and say this bottle of water has health, you know, health attributes, when it really doesn't, that's where the FTC come and say what's going on here if someone complains. So they regulate all the businesses and consumers, how they talk to each other, right? Especially on the business side, because they don't want to have that monopoly, and they don't want to have that mistrust between the business and the consumer. So they definitely make sure that, you know, what you're advertising is correct, making sure that, you know, you have that they're governing all the policies and procedures, whereas how businesses, you know, are acting responsible to their consumers. That's my understanding.
Yeah, I just remember that happening when we were growing up. Like, if there was a movie that you knew certain age groups could not watch, it was like parental guidance, PG-13 bias, right? So I feel like the FTC Act has like that kind of mediators to make sure that things don't fall in the cracks. You know, that they're not doing deceptive marketing, that there's some kind of protection put into place. So I think that would probably be very good goals, yeah.
And now, so you mentioned protocol from the business side. Now, from the consumer side, what is the Bureau of Consumer Protection?
They also protect the consumer. So it's similar, right? One regulates the business, one protects the consumer. So what the consumer is not, like, you have ever heard of Better Business Bureau, right? Exactly. If a company has done it wrong, like a roofer comes and doesn't do the right thing by you can complain about that business. So they always are there to protect the consumer from, you know, egregious, you know, instead of just going straight to court always, you want to make sure that this company doesn't do this again, right? So you can find them, you can take action against them from ever doing so, by whether it's fines, whether it's closing down business. It just depends on how and what the issue was. But I think it's very much in place for a reason, because as a consumer myself and a business professional, I want to make sure that there's laws and things that are going to help avoid avoid any egregious acts against the ones that are paying for us to stay in business, right? Because you have some unscrupulous folks out there that are willing to prey on the consumer, the communities that are sometimes, you know, very underserved, and they think that there's no one to protect them. But that's why that education comes in. A lot of people don't know that these government agencies exist, and for it to exist and not be known, it says a lot. You know, it says a lot. That's how some of these companies get away with some of the things that they do. But if we stay in the know, then we won't be able to, you know, tolerate that. So, you know,
it's just so funny how, like, they've taken those things away. Because growing up, I remember getting the mailers used to get the consumer, the Bureau of Consumer booklet, and it would give you different government entities. Like, if you had a complaint against the Department of whatever, there was like actual a place that you could write to, issued a complaint. And it's just ironic how we're living in a time where it's not readily available to you unless you know, right? So you can go have like their regulating department can actually send emails to that, okay, I purchased your product and this is what it did to me, blah, blah, blah. But no one, like, it's just odd how they take those mailers away from us and we no longer have access to it the way that we once did unless you go individually to that company. But then if you're going individually to that company, are they reporting it back to the bureau?
Right.
You know, so that's very interesting. And Dr. Terrence, wants to add anything?
I think everything that you say is valid, and I don't really have anything else more to add to it. I just think that there is value in understanding that there are different federal agencies that do look out for the consumer's best interest. And I think that it's not only interesting to kind of know how that works, but how to contact and support, or how to reach out to those particular contacts and stuff to be able to bring things into the limelight. Because some of these agencies are about as effective as the way that the people use it. And if we do not know how those agencies are available or how they're there to kind of help out, like some of them, they'll be called watchdogs, right? And so somebody's violating a particular government rule or order, then those advocates will help bring those issues up to cause. And so, just chiming in what they said and stuff, be familiar or just kind of just play around and see what exists. And, if you feel like that somebody's infringing on your, intellectual property, or if they're infringing on your right as a consumer, there are avenues in recourse available if you utilize those particular agencies and watchdogs.
So how would I identify email fraud?
Oh gosh. Every single time I open up my email, I have a personal, well, I closed it. I had a personal PayPal account. Every minute I'll get invoices on it. And I'm like, for an Apple phone, I'm like, I don't even buy my phones. My boyfriend gives me his when he's upgrading his. I'm like, what? I'm like, okay, I get rid of it. Yesterday I got one from Apple. You have to make sure you look at who's sending it, right? Because they are so crafty, and they'll just say invoice due, or like invoice. Apple is known to take that money out of my account immediately, so I'm like, okay, every single day. If you're not, Dr. Contessa got scammed the other day. They're getting craftier, they're getting more creative, they're getting more persistent and taking what you worked for, your hard-earned money. When I see even anybody, and that's why we have to speak up when it is happening, right? And then we also have to protect our elders because they are not savvy with these computer, emails and such. But you have to read the tone. Who is it coming from? Is it a verified email address, or is it xyzelementop@gmail.com/Apple? Like, hello, I mean, sometimes they will freak you out, the subject line. They are so crafty with the subject line, it will say, open immediately or you'll get arrested. like what? Sometimes they're really but then one said, dear costumer. I said, no, you don't. You can't spell. Dear costumer? Okay, all right. You almost said it. You almost said it. But
Right.
so you have to be diligent even now when you're opening your email and not clicking those links on your phone or whatever devices, because that's how they're gonna get you. Let me tell you a fun story. Not really fun, because she lost a lot of money. I had a friend of mine, she went, this is not even email, but she went to get the number for Cash App. She wanted something she needed to do. Do you know they went into her account? When she looked at her account, it was negative $820,000. She had money in there, like 20 grand in there, and they took that and left. I said, so even the internet. So whatever number you're providing, make sure you know what information you're providing as well. to when you call those numbers. They are very crafty. I can read one to you right now, but I mean, I'm always deleting them because I don't want to make the mistake. Sometimes I'm in the middle of the night and I'm checking my email. You want to be very vigilant nowadays. They are extremely desperate to take your money that, as I said, you work so hard for. And if you're not careful, you will fall prey to them. And you will be crying because they're not leaving you with a cent. They're not. PayPal, I don't know how PayPal has not shut it down because I used to get almost every week an invoice for an iPhone I've never purchased. What is that?
Yeah, just be aware of anything that's too good to be true. Also, anything that comes with an attachment, the domain addresses, like I look to see if it's matching. Again, the grammar part was a good one.
Yeah.
Even how they're greeting you, like what's the greeting line? Are they acting as though they're familiar with you, or they're just pulling it out of the sky somewhere? So just to be mindful of those things, like anything that's asking you for like I think my daughter got herself caught up in something like that where I think it was a TikTok, some account that she had, but she went and gave her information, and then they took over the account. Yeah, so it's like being very mindful, like,
changing your passwords.
Very quickly,
yeah.
So don't make it something obvious like 1, 2, 3, 4. Like, just being mindful of those things. Again, I'm big on it. If I see an attachment, I don't know the name of the company, I'm deleting it. I'm deleting it because I don't know what it is and I don't know what.
Here's one.
Right.
Sorry. Netflix membership. Ask me if I have Netflix. I don't. It says this message in red. It says it was automatically sent because my Netflix subscription has expired. Your Netflix has expired today. Unfortunately, we're unable to renew your subscription. If you choose to keep your subscription active, update your profile. And of course, there's a link. They want me to renew now. They told me that unfortunately I can't. But then if you want to renew, and it was in my spam where it belongs. Terrible.
And a lot of times, if you click on the link, it will eat your phone up.
Yeah, that's why, that's why I say, please be careful. Here's one that says, congratulations, please confirm you've been selected. I mean, these are all safety check, cyber catastrophe. They're so crafty because they want your information. They're cloning your information and using it to do whatever and however. Payment declined. I've got this a lot. That will freak you out. Payment decline. I'm like, okay, which one of my payments? Because there's money in every single account, and my cards have, you know what I mean? So yeah, they're
I won't lie, I recently got cracked.
really.
And I'm very mindful. I stay on top of this stuff, and I got a text saying that I owe some money in total. And I'm like, a couple total. And I said, but they tell us that? And I was like, and I saw the website said tollsnyc.com, not told that why, right? So I knew something, but I still was like, let me just be responsible financially and take care of it. And it wasn't until the ending, after I done put everything in, checked the website and saw it was fraud.
Wow.
And I said, I just.
How much was the amount? That you almost got for?
It was $60.
Oh my gosh, they don't care.
But I gave them the new address and the new card number. I said, Dad, they got the new stuff, right? So it wasn't even the old. But in terms of consumer protection laws, can you talk about what are some protection laws that are out there for someone like me, right? Who I just walk myself into it, right?
Recognizing it's a scam is one thing that you gotta protect yourself first, right? Because not every time the government is going to help you at the bank, they gotta jump through a lot of red tape and hoops to get that money back. So first of all, educate. Back to education. educating yourself, right? Making sure that you recognize that they are not texting you, especially your bank.
Yeah.
They're not texting you, asking you nothing. Nothing. So everything text, keep one eye. If you don't recognize, like, first of all, yes, you may have tolls, but they're not ever going to text you for the tolls. They're going to mail you to death, right? They're going to send a paper mail to your house to let you know I need this money, man. So definitely.
.com, but they're .gov.
.gov, right?
Remember, like, check the domain address.
Right.
If they play on the fact that you know that you owe something.
I want to know if
But let me tell you, I always got that too.
Wow.
And it's something. If we're the younger generation, but imagine our older people, right? How easily they are targeted and preyed. Like I had a call from I think it was a gas company, and I know I owed the gas company. But usually, like the way the person was so persistent, asking certain information, and I'm like, but wouldn't you already have that information? They were like, you could cash out. I didn't even know you could cash out. But you can't. But that's the thing. No way, no. You cannot. But somebody just told me, well, this doesn't sound right. I'm going to talk to your supervisor. So the fact that they saw that I was it's like being inquisitive, and they actually placed me while I was on the phone. And I spoke to them. I'm like, okay, well, I want the phone number, and I took the phone number, and then somebody just told me call the company directly. And I called the company directly. They're like, well, personally, we would never say to cash out anything. And looking at your account, right, whatever they think that you owe, that's not what the deal is. So panic, because they were like, we're going to come and we're going to turn off your service right then and there. So you're like panicking. It's a Friday emotion. It's a Friday. You don't want your service cut or anything like that. But sometimes you just have to pull back and not let yourself be so driven by your emotion. And this is why like consumer protection laws are put into place to educate you on certain things. That you can actually call whatever company that they're saying they're calling from and report it. Because did you report it to anyone?
I did. I reported it to my bank.
Right.
I was going to go to the precinct, but the new card came too quick. So I didn't get to the precinct, but I felt comfortable, and I did call my phone company.
Yes.
So I felt comfortable with the steps that I took there to at least protect one, my card, and two, to protect my phone.
Yes.
But I am seeing where I'm getting those WhatsApp texts about financial groups and like, there's the.
And this score,
it's
getting overwhelming. But to answer your question, the FTC is one. They have an act that protects the consumer from these schemes, and really does help. If that's the main event, back to knowing where to go. They do help us to maintain that level of, ensuring that this doesn't happen to someone. Because it's new. It may be new to somebody, to the company who's having it, and report it to the company too. So you don't want to call them yet, right? Call them and let them know. That's another thing. Long Island, they had a bunch of scams happening, especially for the elderly, and because they were reporting it, they were able to put it out to the public. Because I didn't know that they had that scheme. There's so many of them. I thought it was only email and text, but it's WhatsApp now. It's now. I have a group that I do my I'm in Telegram. I get this girl. I don't know who she is. Every week I block her. I delete. Comes back, sending me messages about Bitcoin. I'm like, man. And then she sent, like, if I read it to you, I'm like, seriously, every week. I'm like, where is she getting my info from? So, but there are several other, there's the credit bureau, they have their credit bureau active now. They have a slew of them, to really help us to maintain the integrity, but also to protect us from these people are creative. I'm like, if you ever put all this creativity into a legal business, you'd be a multi-millionaire. but instead they try to victimize people. That's why they say lock your credit, right? You know, get that system where you can lock it and only open it when you need to, like, because they will go in. How many people you know have been falling victim to identity theft? So many. You know, because they put their information somewhere, or they don't shred their information, or they don't black out their name. Call me paranoid if you want. Every piece of mail is shredded, right? Or I black out my name if I'm going to toss it or something like that. But no, not my.
And don't be afraid to report it. I see so many people, especially the elderly people, like they're embarrassed. Embarrassed to do their Google, and they don't want to report it. But if you're not reporting it, then they can't put in certain laws, right? They can't enact certain things to put safety measures. And this is what supposedly these bureaus are for, to put these safety measures in place. But if you're not reporting it, we're under-reporting it, acting as though it's not happening when we know it's happening. Like, I mean, like, we're saying $50. $50 for you may be nothing, but to somebody who doesn't have $50 in their job, I've heard so many stories. I mean, like there was a point where they were targeting certain elderly people, calling them, saying that, your daughter was in an accident.
Or arrested.
See what happened.
to the Uber driver.
Right. And these people were going into the banks and they were taking their money and wiring money to people, but was too scared to go to the police department to verify the information. So we have to be aware, and educate ourselves and protect ourselves.
They're there for a reason. They're right. The Consumer Fair Credit Bureau Act. There is so many. There is the Financial Protection Act as well. So it's just about knowing, who to go to when you get into that kind of situation. It's so important. Any input? Dr. Terrence.
Yes, ma'am. So, kind of touching base on what everybody's talking about. I think the biggest thing is that well, let me back it up and stuff. My true Hollywood story is that I got hustled. I had woke up middle of the night. I think it happened maybe around like 12:30, 1 o'clock. I woke up and I got an email, and I clicked on the link in my email. And so on my professional, or actually on my personal Facebook page, IG, WhatsApp, whoever got in, they did me a number, they shut me down. Fortunately, I had my business cards attached to my profile, but they decided to go on a Christmas shopping spree, so they was getting all types of cool stuff, whatever the case may be and stuff. So, more of the story is make sure that if you have a credit card or a business card, attach it to that, because if anything happens to your card, it's easier to have the bank or have the credit card agency put the money back in dispute versus losing money out of your account. So if possible, try to connect to your card as much as possible. But just really just kind of echo the comments that was said. If you do get a notification saying your subscription is expired or that you need to log in or whatever the case may be, yes, try to look into how the email is provided. And they teach us at the university level. I wish they would do that at the consumer level, but go into the actual website itself, right, and see if there's a problem with your card. Because if they're going to provide a message, that message is going to be in a message center for most of those, accounts and whatnot. Additionally, some apps now and certain websites, especially as it safeguards your personal information, use what they call a TFA, a two-factor authentication. Some of the websites that give you a QR code, and it's just a simple, you don't have to pay for the app. You can use a Google Authenticator, you could use the Microsoft Authenticator. And then so if somebody's trying to log into your account, or if you're trying to log into the account, you have to type in the codes off your phone into the actual website in order to move forward. So some sites are starting offering that more. You can almost create your two-factor authentication for most of your email accounts as well. Just Google that up, because that's a good way to try to protect your personal information. The reality is, that cyber hackers everywhere. I think Keisha has said this. I mean, they're so sophisticated. I mean, we figure out the game one day, they're switching it up the next. We talk about AI, same thing. You just got to do your due diligence, right? So it makes me think about the time I went to Chicago last month, or a month and a half ago, And so I got a text message, right? That's the other way to do now. They send you text messages, and it said I had an outstanding toll for $12. I need to click on this link to avoid paying $50. If you've been through Chicago, I think New York has the same toll system, but if you've ever been through Chicago, they're notorious for jacking up that toll fee if you don't pay within a certain amount of time. But instead of clicking onto the link, I actually went onto the Illinois Tollway website, found out not only was it a different website from what was on that text message, but it also showed that I didn't owe a toll, because I was like, I could have sworn I didn't go into a toll. But if I was impulsive, I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to pay this $50. All of a sudden, I'm getting my credit card information, my license plate, make and model of the car, and everything else like that, and then they could have a field day. So, again, just taking that due diligence and stuff. I mean, if they're going to put a number on you, they're going to put a number on you. So, I don't know if you can really stop that, but just taking that pause sometimes and just thinking, is this really something that I have to address right away? And can I, take the time so that way I'm not under the duress trying to look at it? Because again, it goes all the way back to what we talked about at the 4 o'clock hour. It comes down to your emotions. A lot of this advertising, a lot of exploitations, a lot of the scams, they play on one thing more than anything else. It's not about your financial ability. It's not about the job you have. It's not how much money you're bringing in. It's playing off your emotions. And if the more that you allow yourself to be emotionally exploited, the higher the risk and the opportunity for somebody else to take advantage of you. And so that's a good way to do that. And again, there are watchdog groups, federal agencies that you can report certain scams, even within the state of New York. I know they would have certain state level consumer protections, but it starts with you. And as far as like the elderly is concerned, if possible, try to have a conversation that if you are a very responsible individual, be the safeguard, have everything routed to a central email instead of having gone to their email or anything like that, or have your elder be able to share any kind of online billing information or whatever the case may be, so you can be there with them to be able to make a payment. It may be a little bit of an inconvenience, but that really helps your loved ones from being scammed, because you're right. Like we're going to get to the point where they're going to have new things going on that we may not get hip to, right? And so that's just something that we have to definitely keep in mind, moving forward.
So, if someone steals and misuses my credit or debit card, how does bank fraud protection help me?
You would definitely jumping through hoops, because my girlfriend, she did. Unfortunately, it took quite a long time to get any money back, and she didn't get it. They were blaming her. They were saying she was a part of the scam, right? And she's like, I won't mention the name of the bank. I used to bank with them. It's not a fan, because they did not stand up for their consumer. Because they didn't stand up for me when I deposited $1,000 cash dollars in the ATM and went into cyberspace. When I'm looking for my money, they're like, oh, we'll just fix it. No, so anyway, you'll have to do forms. You have to do a police report. The bank your money is insured up to a certain point, $250,000. So, unfortunately, as I said, these scam artists are getting so creative that sometimes the bank has no way. The banks are getting scammed too, right? The banks themselves are being involved, falling prey to the scams, unfortunately. But we just have to stay vigilant, right? Try to avoid opening links that you're not familiar with. Try to ask questions, right? And also research. As long as you research, stay educated. Going back to that key word, education, is such a big factor in this. But the banks will only up to $250,000 on certain accounts. They'll insure you. But good luck. They have to, they really do, but good luck, because they will find every which way, because they're lost too, right? They have lost even more, because in her case, they took way more than she had in money. Imagine that her balance was negative $888,000. How do you do that? Crafty. They're genius, right? To be able to do that. So they were like, oh no. You got to suffer just like we did. They wiped that bank.
Yeah, I would. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah, sure. Just real quick, I think she's 1,000% on point. Setting up alerts on your accounts, all your accounts, really makes a big difference. Whether it's a limit balance, whatever you feel comfortable with and stuff. But yeah, a spending balance. So for myself, anything under $250 is automatically flagged, and I get a text message and I get an email immediately. And if my balance drops over to a certain dollar amount, I get that flagged as well. But again, I think it comes back to what I had just said earlier, and I think that we all agree is that if you do have a credit card available, especially when it comes to automatic purchases or whatever the case may be, it's an easier conversation with the credit card company than it is with a banking account, because you're right. How many people, you got scammed, but how many times people have scammed the bank, right? And so they're lost. So you have to put yourself into the bank shoes, the loss prevention shoes, and say that before we reimburse you up to 250,000 out of 800,000 loss or whatever the case may be, we have to do our due diligence, and that will take a long time. You don't get a temporary reprieve, but on a credit card, most credit cards, what they'll do is that if you give as much details as possible, they'll reverse the charges. They'll give you the credit until their investigation. And if they find your credit investigation to be valid, then they'll keep those charges off your card. Otherwise, they'll put those charges back into your account. But at least at that time, you're not having the ability to affect your day-to-day purchasing or whatever the case may be and stuff. But again, also too, how regularly are you checking your account? I know sometimes those can happen, overnight and stuff, but having a period where you're tracking your accounts regularly, keep your receipts. One of the biggest scams, I used to travel 70% of the time. When I most got hacked, when I travel. So when you go to hotels, when you're staying in those hotels, a lot of those hotels, especially if they're in a high tourist area, they're more prone to credit card or financial theft, because of the fact that they know that you got all these people that's coming in from out of town. They're going to a centralized location, and their guard is not going to be as up as if they're in your regular neighborhood or your regular locale and stuff. So the way that they steal off your getting gas, by not using your wallet pay, they can steal your credit card or debit card information just for you swiping your card to get gas. And so as you look at this, saying how people get more craftier, kind of think one step ahead about how to protect your interests as much as possible. Again, having, if possible, just have one credit card that can help you with your daily expenses and pay it off at the end of the week, right? That's a good way to also boost not only your credit score, but also your credit utilization score. But it also minimizes the chance of you to be defrauded. And I can tell you, for me traveling and just in general, I probably had my credit card account hacked 11 times. And that's not because I was sloppy, but that's just the nature of the beast and stuff. The more I traveled, the more risk I took. And there were times that I had my card used in New Jersey, and they had my PIN number and everything. I don't know how they got it, and I never been to Jersey, right? So, but again, it was on my credit card, and that was a quick reversal versus my checking account. So if you are paying attention to what we're saying on this particular topic, what is the best way to kind of isolate yourself, provide a layer of protection to the best of your ability, whether it's a two-factor authentication or, if possible, using a credit card to protect yourself from being frauded.
Well, I think they're getting better, like with the alerts too. Like if you're, I've had text messages that said, "Did you like make this purchase?" And if you didn't, press N, and then they would freeze it. So I think the banks are starting to become better at it. But also too, some banks they will reimburse, right? If it is done through a debit, but again, like you said, it takes time. Most banks, like, they have to go through the whole investigation, which takes about 10 business days for most banks in order for you to get some of that money back. So it's always good to like constantly be checking. Unfortunately, that's the age I live in. Now they're setting it up so that you have alerts, have the app on your phone so that you know. Like every time I go to the store now, like my bank will be like, I'm like, okay, I know I spent it, but I'll get like that alert that says I spent this. So and that also makes you spending so that you know what's in your account, right? So I think they can be better with that.
No, that's awesome. Thank you. And even as we think about what we're spending, where we're spending, how we're spending, and keeping it safe, what are some of my personal identity identifiers and how to protect it.
Your social security number.
Name, address, date of birth, social security number, driver's license, everything that has your name attached to it. Where you work. You know, as I said, they're getting extremely creative on how to, like, they're using ways, even using AI, right? They're using AI in the marketing, they're using AI to, even the voice. And then they tell you, when the telemarketer calls, don't say yes.
I just heard that on the news. And you're absolutely right, because that confirms it.
Yeah. Are you speaking to Keisha Christie? What do you want? Who is this? That's what I'm asking you. How can I help you? Say that. How can I help you? Instead of saying it. Because they are getting. You remember I talked about the young lady who was always sending me the messages in Telegram? She sent me one just now. Actually 3. But they're getting so creative in wanting to take from you. So you have to use every inch of protection you can to avoid them grasping at your money. Right? Everything that identifies you, you need to make sure you keep it safe. In my house, I have a safe. I don't have no tens of millions in there, but I have my passport when I'm not using it because I don't know who's coming in there. It's an apartment. You know what I mean? I have things that I don't want people to easily access. So I put it safely guarded. Online, I use my VPN, right? Those are the things to help your computer because where you are and how people hack, they are hacking everywhere, every time, anywhere you are. For you, Dr. Terrence, you say you travel a lot. Like me too, I travel a lot. I was in Jamaica, came back, and still was in Atlanta. So I do have to be mindful of my devices. Like people, did you not see the guy who screenshotted another passenger's boarding pass and got on the plane?
Oh, wow.
You know,
Even your
Mhm.
your boyfriend.
Wow.
I keep my boarding pass now until it's ready to scan.
Yeah.
How did the airline even let that?
They had to come back to the gate. There was no seat. That's how if there were seats on that flight, he would have been in. So he couldn't make it on his original airline. So that's how crafty and genius. Walking around, people want to have their phones out like this, ready to board. And he just went behind the guy, snapped, kept it moving. Used it to get on the plane. And the plane moved off the gate. And when they realized somebody didn't have a seat, so even that you have to safeguard. Your boarding pass. It doesn't matter. People are going to get ideas of how to get to the next level, right? He was in dire need of going to where he needed to go. And desperate measures means desperate actions. You know, so even your, what's that thing we need? Easy Pass. Put away your Easy Pass. That's why I had the tickets, because somebody
Right?
you
Y'all
gotta
hear that? Somebody else heard it. Not me.
So everything that is attached to you, you have to safeguard. It's no longer, they're not stealing your purse anymore. They're not picking your pockets. I mean, yes, they are, but they're not. Everybody's behind the device.
They're stealing your voice.
Yes, they're stealing your voice. They're stealing
Everything.
everything.
Get those automated things that she said.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to say
Yeah.
you're not even supposed to say anything.
Anything. Right.
When
Just like that.
you get a call that you don't know, don't say anything because what they're trying to do is get your voice.
Right.
Because then they'll AI your voice and use it to get you out.
Your friends, they'll call your friends. Call your number, call your friends, and they'll think you're talking to you. Hello? Hey. Yes. You know, things like that. You're right.
And another thing is, and this was something I saw, you on your phone, you meet somebody and go, hey, why don't you put your number in my phone, your phone, right? So when the people are doing putting in a number, but they're going in your cash app and sending money.
Out of your cash.
Because if you're not looking at what the person is doing holding the phone, they can be doing all kind of things in your phone while you're not even looking. So you really can't give nobody your phone. Because
Or putting your phone on top of somebody else's, because you know, Apple has this thing now. Okay, you guys are good. It takes your information. I mean, it takes your number, but you have a feature to turn it off. There's so many. Every day is something new. You have to learn about, you know, to be able to protect yourself. because I'm telling you, they are geniuses out there from all over the world. People used to think it was Nigeria only. No, it's every corner of the world. They are learning. It's Europe, it's Asia, it's everywhere, right? They say the scammers are in Jamaica. They're here too. They're everywhere.
Any tips, Dr. Terrence?
I mean, she hit it on the head and stuff. I mean, it's like I said, these people are getting more savvy and stuff. And I think, again, this forum is great and stuff to be able to share those tips and insights. I think everybody that's listening to this, whether it's online or actually in person, can find something that they can take and keep that in mind and save them not only just a lot of money, but just the headache of it all. Because we can, and hell, they could listen to this whole little podcast, right? And then they came up with something else just based off of what we said. And you just got to be more diligent. And again, just take that pause. It's not, just that 1 second, or just ask that person for a call back. And it's funny because I had went to this local Mardi Gras event, and I remember I ran to this one guy, and we were talking about whatever, and he asked for my contact information. And I was like, I can give it to you. So, oh no, so that we could do the share thing, like the Apple share thing. And I said, no, we good. Oh, no, it's not going to take but a second. I said, so why can't you take my phone up? And he was just like, well, don't worry about it. I mean, so I think we were just talking about business or something. It was just whatever the conversation flow was. But it was that opportunity right there, right? We're out here having a good time and this and that. Somebody could try to take advantage of you just when you're trying to have a good time. And just, so especially ladies, if you give your information out to another fella, just, be mindful of that as well and stuff, because they can get in and get your information and they can wind up, really doing a lot of damage and stuff. So, and you can also turn that feature off, by the way, because I have that feature turned off anyways, because all I have to do, you can sit at a bar and somebody could tap their phone and they could take your information right then and there. So, there's a YouTube channel and Google that figure out how to do it. I can't tell you, but I know I did that immediately and stuff because it is a security risk. Excuse me. And they could also take all your photos. And so just imagine if somebody that's trying to hack you, whatnot, all of a sudden now they got photos of you and your family, and then they can open up accounts or whatever, create bogus passports, bogus driver's license and stuff just off your photos. So, you got to just protect your peace and just protect your best interest at all times.
And on the same note, if somebody calls me and says that they're my bank, asking for my account or my social, is it a scam?
Yes. Yes, so I mean, for me, that's a red flag, right? Immediate red flag. There is no way that your bank is calling you to ask you information. Normally, you call them, right? When you need some help.
Absolutely.
They're not texting you, they're not WhatsApping you, they're not nothing of the sort. So you have to use wisdom, right? And pretty much common sense, right? When was the last time your bank called you? They're going to email you, right? About a survey, how was our service if you went there recently? You'll get that. Or when they're trying to push a product, you'll get that. But they're not calling you. Big red flag. And they're using that emotion, like you saw the email, expired, your payment declined. Your bank is not telling you that, they're not calling you to tell you your bank your payment declined. None of that. Don't fall prey, because they are very savvy. They're very much, every day is a new way for them to get, into your identity or your account. So I really think that we have to learn a bit more, and we got to speak up, when somebody gets got or almost got, we have to be vulnerable. We can't use embarrassment, to withhold information, because that could teach somebody else how to avoid that. Because tomorrow it's going to be something else. And you're like, whoa, how did they do that? It's really it's a sad world we're living in most times, because no one wants to go and do the honest work that they can, but, we still have to safeguard our information. We have to really be careful nowadays. Back in the day, remember you used to leave your doors and your windows open? Y'all too young for that. Back in the day, Dr. T, sorry,
Yeah, man. Yeah.
You know, that's how times have changed, right? My window is open right now. I'm like, I didn't close it, but I'm on the fourth floor. But then again, you just never know. People are going to find every means necessary to get what they want.
And now, like you said, I love the word, they're getting more and more craftier in how they're doing it. Their tactics are very subtle at times. So if you're not paying attention, you may miss it. Because a lot of times you're thinking, yeah, if it is your banking institution, that's close. Especially if it says the bank's name, right, on the caller ID. So you're thinking this is a legitimate thing. And because if they were to say, well, we noticed certain transactions, that took place, can you just verify? And if you sitting there, when you say verify, instead of having them repeat the number to you, your inclination is to be like, well, let me give them my number, right? So they're banking on the fact that you're going to be emotional, and that's how you get. That's how you're giving away information without even realizing that you're doing it. And like you said, take away the shame and embarrassment, right? That it has happened, so that you can educate other people on how not to get got.
So I hope you're telling your friends about that text message that you got, and for you too.
Oh yeah, I told.
Yeah,
I told a few of my colleagues.
And report it to the companies. Report them to the company.
Report the number, block it, of course. But it's every day that someone falls prey because A, it sounds too good to be true. B, it's an emotional, like, oh my God, what happened? How did my payment decline or something else? But, you definitely want to report it. You definitely want to help others to not get into that cycle, because most of us now are living paycheck to paycheck. So that good to be true is normally what's going to get them, right? Then you have the text message, like the good to be true is a happy investor, sharing testimonies from benefiting from this investment program on my Telegram. So proud of, like, if I really was like, oh man, I'm looking for something else to really change my life and make some more money, I would start today. This is the amount of that I've received from this person that I have no idea who it is, wanting me to earn with Jesse Lane and the money back. I'm like, that's how we get got. That's how we fall victim. And then there are people, you remember when they were doing the Cash App scam? We didn't know it was a scam, but we saw people like using this tactic, like, oh, if you invest this, we'll get this out. You remember that?
Wheel.
Not the wheel. It was that too, but in COVID they had this the Cash App where you drop $500, you get more in a few weeks or whatever. It was insane. It was
yeah.
And a lot of the D-list celebrities got into that as well, and because you see their faces, you're gonna think it's legit, right? And I say D-list with respect, but I'm just saying, like, they also were involved because it's that quick money. Back to that microwavable, result. Everybody wants that fast money right now because the faster it comes in the hand, though, they don't realize the quicker it goes out. So you have to be very mindful of what you're doing today with your money and with your identification.
Any add-ons, Dr. Terrence?
Nah, she said it all right there and stuff. I mean, just make sure that you really stay on top of your stuff. I mean, because I'm pretty sure that if you went around the room, somebody knows somebody that got manipulated. Somebody knew they got scammed. How many times have you, took somebody's page on Facebook and then they start telling you, oh, you can get this Bitcoin or the Forex and stuff. And she's right. I mean, rarely you have a better chance making it to the NBA than you do becoming a millionaire overnight. It's just the chance of basically saying the chances are very hard. And so you have to understand, like, when you try to go for this get rich quick schemes and all those fads, I mean, it's not even really worth it. I mean, it's like I know this is kind of like two different topics, but think about trucking. How many black people across the country say, oh, I'm gonna get a trucking and things like that. Well, when COVID had switched and things had kind of somewhat stabilized, who got affected most out of all new businesses, Black truckers. Why? Because they didn't have the capital, they didn't have the financing, and so they made the money real quick. Some of them were smart enough to kind of, pivot, do some other things. A lot of them, they got caught up in that fast money, and then now they wind up losing everything and stuff. And so, really just comes down to just being aware and just planning. I think if we can capture three words or three key themes out of this entire panel is planning, being aware, and removing your emotions out of your financial situations. I think you do those three things regularly, I think you'll do all right.
Thank you so much. And that has been the Barbershop Convo Series on financial literacy part 4. So, any last remarks from our panelists?
Well, I just want to say thank you for this opportunity to be amongst great people, great minds, to really be on the forefront of, bringing awareness to this topic, because I think oftentimes our community is not discussing it, and it's not information that's readily made available. And I just want to thank the Barbershop Convo Series for opening up their doors to allow this kind of engagement to take place, and then the fact that it's being streamed, and we have all these wonderful people with great experience and great expertise, and some of us are still growing and learning, and that's the thing. In life, we're always growing and learning. So we should never come to this juncture where we think we know it all. I'm always learning, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the information that was shared here. I'm grateful for Dr. Terrence, Keisha. Thank you for this opportunity. So I hope to be part of more of it, and I hope that we could get it out, spread the word. And thank you, Nikki, for giving us the platform.
Yes, pleasure's mine. Thank you.
Yes, shout out to Nikki and Sharon and everyone that made this series such a success, because you're right. We don't talk about this a lot. We don't talk about money. We don't talk about it wasn't talked about it when I was growing up, right? I lived in Jamaica as a child, and my parents and grandparents had a business. I was only taught to count the money. I didn't know where it goes, how I did not. So I'm so grateful that we are in this space, to be able to share the knowledge that we are able to share, and also grasp some new knowledge from each of us, right? Because it only makes us stronger and more powerful to go forward to teach the masses, right? And our families, especially our families, because we want them to be able to, be in the know. And even my mom, she doesn't do anything Zelle, which I'm happy. I don't have to. She doesn't do anything like that. But then, at the end of the day, my dad does. So who is more susceptible? So we need to stay and read the fine print. People, read the fine print. Take the time before you make those purchases. It's not going anywhere. It's going to be in the store. Don't get too emotional when you're spending your money. Remember, you have to live for tomorrow, right? Don't live for just today. You have a legacy that who doesn't want to have their name on a building one day, so that it lives on and on and on. It's not far-fetched. If Marriott can do it, why can't we? Right? So I'm very honored and very privileged to have shared this platform with each of you, Sabrina, Dr. Terrence, and everyone that was a part of this. It has been such a wonderful, amazing time. Thank you.
Any last words, Dr. Terrence?
I like to echo what everybody else has said. I think definitely need to have more conversations like this on a regular basis, and thank you for being able to put it together. I think I really was looking forward to this particular opportunity, because it's not just something that I'm doing at home, but really just showing that the concerns that you have in New York is the same as in the Midwest, and it's the same across many metros and Black populations throughout the country. Our financial literacy, our financial health is our wealth. And so, we have to make sure that we take care of our finances, understand the why we're doing certain things. Yeah, hopefully y'all have been able to take some great notes. Hopefully there's a replay, because we dropped a lot of gems, a lot of nuggets that people can use like today. And so you don't have to be the most highly educated individual in the world. You don't have to be the highest earning person in the world. It's just the small little adjustments. Right. And I do want to share one thing in that regards, is that they say the average millionaire is about 62 years old, and they've made a lifetime average of $65,000 a year. And so, how you're able to get to that point, It's just taking these small little tidbits that we've been provided today and being able to implement it in your everyday life. And then also one thing too, Steph, I know we had a financial coach and whatnot, reach out to your financial experts. You know, there's no shame. You should not have shame saying that you need help, right? I mean, that's what we're here for. All of us have different financial understandings, but the thing is that we're doing this not just for $1, but we're doing this because it's our community. We want to make sure that we connect and be able to help build future generation of millionaires, make sure that people have assets, be able to have nice trips, to do nice things, and not be in a lot of debt doing it, right? And so just, you know, continue to reach out to your community and stuff, because we all had to start from somewhere. And so it's a blessing to be able to do this with y'all, as it is a blessing for each and every one of the panel to be able to share insight with each and every one of you as well. So thank you again for the opportunity. I hope to y'all be able to bring me back on. And when I do touch down, Sharon, I know you somewhere in there and stuff. I need to get some good oxtails.
I'm here.
Thank you,
Yeah. We got a couple of Jamaican spots out here, but it's not like out there and stuff. Yeah, no, that was. Yeah, it's not like it is out there on the East Coast. Love it.
No, well, thank y'all for being here. Thank you for this time. And even I just want to leave my final thought as well. This work is important, and financial education is important because there's a number called PFIN, and it's the Personal Finance Index number. So what that number highlights is how communities of culture understand finance.
Right.
And in the Black and brown community, that number is between 34 to 35%. And in Asian and white communities, that number is between 54 to 55%. Yep. So as far as folks that look like us around this table, we have a long ways to go in terms of how we are educated on finance. And you're right. I've heard more times in my household growing up, when we go to the store, don't touch nothing, don't ask for nothing, right? And that has been the norm. We haven't had healthy conversations around money, right? And how to manage it, how to deal with it. So that's why we need to raise the bar and educate ourselves so that we can raise that PFID number, that we have educated communities of culture. And it's only through conversations like this that we begin on a grassroots level and in platforms like this that we can impact people where they are. So I'm grateful to be here, and I thank y'all for this time. Thank you all for letting me share the whole stage with you.
Yes, very good.
Thank you, everybody. All right, thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. Have a good weekend. All right. See y'all later. Bye-bye.